All right.
You ready? When Lamborghini decided they needed more carbon fiber manufacturing capability, they sort of understood that even their broadening supercar market wasn't enough to monetize the investment that they had to make into building the facilities and engineering the products. So they started to form these collaborative efforts with Callaway and with Boeing and with others. And so they were building the heads for Callaway drivers. And in 2011, they wanted to do a collaborative marketing effort with Callaway at the Masters Golf Tournament. And that's in Augusta, a few hours away from Atlanta. So they called us as the Atlanta-based dealer and said, hey, we need you to send a few people down to man the tent and to help us in this hospitality house that we're setting up, and mostly to give journalists rides in the car. Because they had all these golfing journalists coming through to experience what Lamborghini and Callaway were doing in this exciting way. But if you've never been to Augusta or never been to the Masters, it is actually the most miserably commercialized sporting activity that's ever been done. It's a city that doesn't have the infrastructure to support the crowds that it receives, and they certainly don't have the hotel rooms or any of the accommodations or the restaurants that you'd expect for a world-class sporting event. So we're down here, and they've rented out some dude's 3-bedroom house, and that's where we've got all these appetizers and drinks and everything set up, and it's Ed's job to go out and give all these press people a ride. But in South Georgia, in Richmond County, where we were, there's not a whole lot of great places to drive, particularly as all the major highways are completely gridlocked as people are coming in for the golf tournament. So they have me going out and essentially giving very spirited test rides in a very residential community. And so I am just, sliding around turns in a Bicolore Gallardo, and we've got a Performante and a Superleggera and an LP550 Spider all together, and we're just kind of going nuts. And I was probably going more nuts than the average, but we all certainly attracted a lot of attention. And so it took about 2 times around the block for every cop in Richmond County to converge on our area and wonder what on earth we were up to. So I get pulled over in exotic cars sort of a lot, because I drive exotic cars a lot, and it's actually not that hard to generally get out of these tickets, because a cop walks up to the car and he's like, how fast you were going, and you say, not really, and he'll tell you, and it's real fast, and you say, well, if I was trying to go fast, it'd be a whole lot faster than that was. And that kind of lightens the mood. You say, it's just a really quick car, and it sounds loud. You're welcome to drive it. And that lightens the mood, because they'll say, oh, I can't drive it. I got the belt and the gun and everything. Well, I'll hold your gun, hop right in. But they won't do it. And so, but generally, if you're at the dealership or somewhere, you tell them, well, after you're off duty, come back and we'll give you a ride. And they never take you up on it. But one fine officer of Richmond County said, I will take you up on it. And a few hours later, he shows up and is asking, where do I get my ride? And so this Richmond County Sheriff's deputy became my passenger. And that wasn't something I was actually excited to do, but he said, the person organizing the whole thing said, hey, Ed, take this guy for a ride. And so we were kind of winding down for the day. And so he hopped in. I was back in the Bicolore. I was a Grigio Telesto, the same color as my car is now. And so we go out, and he's like, I've got this great road for us to drive on. And it's right down the street, right around the corner. It's awesome. You can go as fast as you want. He said, I'd been 180 miles an hour in a ZR1 there. I'm like, wow, that's pretty formidable. I certainly fancy my Gallardo can go a lot faster than your Corvette, so that sounds like a game I'll play. So we kind of drive, and we go around a few corners, and there's no empty big roads there. We kind of drive some more, and still no big. So eventually, it's been about 15 minutes, and I'm like, dude, are we getting close? And he says, oh yeah, it's right up here. And in this fact, actually, he was telling the truth. And so we drive, and I said, how long has it been since you've been to this road? Going really fast on roads kind of requires good conditions and low traffic. And he said, well, it's been about 10 years. And I stopped. I said, 10 years? The Corvette ZR1 had come back in 2009, but he was I said, you're talking about a 91 ZR1? He said, yeah, but it was like Callaway modified as a buddy of mine. It's a really, really cool car. I said, well, a lot of things change on roads in 10 years. I mean, are we going to be able to drive fast on this road? He says, absolutely, you go as fast as you want. And so we go around this next bend, and we see it. And lo and behold, this perfect road to go really fast on is a bridge. And in that part of Augusta, Georgia, bridges in the area generally go into South Carolina. So I told my passenger, I said, I have a sneaking suspicion that whatever jurisdiction you enjoy when you wear your work clothes ends about halfway across that bridge. And he said, oh yeah, it does, but I know all the great places to hide. I said, well, that is not a contingency I planned, having you as my co-pilot today. He said, it'll be fine. So there were a couple cars on the bridge, and they were sort of clearing off, so I just stopped on the side of the road and waited. And I'm like, well, let's just go see how bad the crosswinds are. I said, bridges aren't the greatest of places to speed, but I don't mind sort of, testing out what it can do. So we blast off and do probably 170 miles an hour on the way out. And he is grinning like a schoolgirl, and has his, iPhone out filming. I'm sure it's out on YouTube somewhere. So we turn around and kind of stage and wait on another car to clear, and I'm like, all right, let's see what this thing will do. So coming back, I don't know exactly how fast we got, but it was definitely on the happy side of 190 miles an hour, and it could not have made him any happier at all. So he was grinning ear to ear, and he asked me if I'd just drop him off at his house on the way back, and I don't know how he had gotten to wherever we'd left from, but he certainly wasn't worried about it at that juncture. But we pull up, and I guess he had texted his wife, and she comes out filming it, and she's like, he talks about these cars every day. Cannonball Run's his favorite movie. And I said, absolutely. Happy to be of service.